Hello, Cavaliers, and happy first quarter report card day. I am Miss Pyatt. I'm one of your counselors, and the counseling team is going to be sharing information with you all today about what you can find out from viewing your first quarter report card. So let's break down what your first quarter report card looks like and what information you can find on it. So teachers, this is your cue. If you haven't already passed out paper report cards to your advisory students, please take a moment to do that. Because students, I think it's really helpful if you have your report card in front of you as I talk you through what you can see on it. So if we're looking at your report card, at the very top, it has personal information about you, your name, your school, the school year, the marking report card period, your homeroom, your counselor, all of that basic information in kind of that top first section. Then the next part of there has information about your classes and your grades. So it'll have a grade for each one of your classes. To the right of your grades, it will also tell you how many times you were absent in a particular class period. And then the columns after that, CM1 and CM2, are if any of your teachers have comments about your performance in class. And they're coded by numbers. So to figure out what the numbers mean, you would look at the numbers and then look at the bottom of your report card, and it'll tell you what numbers those comments correspond to. So you can get an idea of what your teachers have to say about you and how you're doing in class that way. The next section of your report card has some information that you can't really find anywhere else. So this is super important. So the very first thing in the middle kind of section is information about your service learning hours. It will tell you whether or not your hours are completed. And if they are not completed, it will tell you how many hours you have to still complete. And keep in mind, your service learning hours are something that you must do by May of your senior year, and they are a graduation requirement. So if you don't do those hours, you won't get your high school diploma. So if you have questions or need hours and you don't know how to get them, talk to Miss O'Neill. She's our service learning coordinator for Calvert High School. The next part on there, it'll tell you whether or not your state testing has been met for a particular subject area, so algebra, biology, English, or government. And if this says your requirement has not been met and you haven't yet taken that class, so for example, my freshman, it may say that you haven't met the biology, the English, government, or the algebra, but it could just be that you haven't taken those subject areas yet. So if it says that you haven't met it and you haven't taken those classes, don't panic. It will come after you take those classes. But if you've already taken those classes and it says you haven't met your requirement, you may want to touch base with your teacher in that subject to figure out what you have to do to get caught back up when it comes to state testing. The next part of your report card is your attendance. And this is so important. We want you guys all to earn your credits and move on and pass. So keep a look on here, see how many days that you've missed, how many days you were legally absent, illegally absent, your total number of absences, and just keep in mind this cannot be over 16 for a school year or you'll be in danger of failing. So let's work on our attendance, Cavs. To the right of the attendance portion is your GPA section. And we'll talk about the different GPAs on there and what they mean. But your current is from this quarter. Your year-to-date is from this school year, and your cumulative is the total average of your time while you're in high school. And that's what colleges and scholarships and things like that are going to be looking for. Then to the right of that, it has information about our grading scale. So you hear a lot of students and teachers say, like, you get extra weight for an AP course, and that will kind of break down how that factors into your GPA. Now that you've seen your report card, let's break it down. Let's talk about what it takes to actually pass a class and earn a credit in high school. So general rule of thumb is if you are in a full year course, you need a total of 240 points from each of the 4 quarters combined to pass for the year. So 240 divided by 4 for the 4 quarters is an average of 60. So put on your math hats for a second. And if you're in a half year class, so something that only meets for 2 quarters or a semester, those classes you only need a total of 120 points because 120 divided by 2 quarters is 60. So you need that average of 60. So it's helpful to kind of know this and keep this in mind as you're thinking about what it takes to pass a class. And there's some examples with math listed there to kind of see if you're on pace. But general rule of thumb is if you get a grade below 60 in a semester, you've got to make up those points in another quarter sometime throughout the year. So your best bet is to just pass every quarter. That's the easiest, surefire way to make sure you earn your credit. And just some other kind of information that's important for you all to know. There is the 50 bump for classes. So, and that only happens in quarters 1, 2, and 3. So what that means is if you happen to have a grade below a 50, it will bump up to a 50 in the first, second, and third quarters. And this is for full year classes, for classes you're in all year. But for the fourth quarter, you get what you get when it comes to grades. So if you get a 30, that's what grade goes on your report card. There is no bump in the fourth quarter for full year classes. For semester or half year classes, the first or third quarter, the first quarter you're in that class, there is that bump up to 50. So if your grade is below 50, it will go up to 50. But the second quarter or the fourth quarter, your grade, you get what you get. There is no bump to 50. So keep this in mind as well, because it's important to make sure you're on track to pass your classes and earn your credit.
Hello, it's Dr. Latia Perry here. I'm going to talk to you guys about cumulative, year-to-date, and current GPAs. Your current GPA is the GPA that is just for this particular quarter related to your specific report card. So, for instance, for this quarter, quarter one, for this report card, your current GPA will reflect that particular quarter, which is quarter one. This is what is used for honor roll and athletic eligibility. And then your YTD or your year-to-date GPA, grade point average, is for each individual year you're in high school, okay? And then your cumulative GPA is for every quarter earned in high school. So that is what colleges are looking at when they're looking at to accepting you to their college or university and for scholarships, okay? All right, so let's talk about athletic eligibility. All right, so you are required to get a 70% grade point average with no more than one failing grade to be eligible. So that means in the next line, it shows you how you can have a different array of grades from B's and C's and some D's in there, and then you can get that 150, and that can bring you down from a 70 to a 67. So let's be mindful and always do the best that we can and get as high marks as we can. Eligibility is based on the report card, so you can become ineligible in the middle of a season if your report card reflects that. And then interims can make you eligible but cannot make you ineligible. So let's utilize those interims to the best of our ability, make sure we're doing the best that we can so that if it comes down to interims to make us eligible, we have that opportunity.
Hey guys, this is Miss Gray, the 11th grade school counselor. What do you need to do to move on to that next grade level? In high school, it works a little bit different than middle school. In high school, you have to earn enough credits in order to be considered for that next grade level. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So for ninth grade students, if you want to become that 10th grade student, you have to earn at least 5 credits and pass one English. For 10th grade to 11th grade, you have to have earned 11 credits and 2 Englishes. And then those students wanting to become seniors, as after 11th grade, you have to have earned at least 17 credits and 3 Englishes. You'll have a total of 23 credits when you graduate. Many of you will have more than 23 credits, but 23 is the requirement in specific areas. So just remember that when you are studying and when you're going to your classes, every credit counts. So make sure that you're passing your classes and you're thinking about the credit requirement that's needed to move on to that next grade. So a few things that you want to keep in mind when you are going all throughout your high school career is that if you didn't have a successful quarter, it's not the end of the world, right? It's important to understand that one unsuccessful quarter doesn't mean that you won't pass the class. It just means that you have to do much better in the next quarter. So we don't want you to be discouraged about not doing so well, your first quarter. You can work with your teachers, work with your counselor, to make a plan for you to be successful in that class. Your GPA is important for those students who want to go to college or apply for scholarships. They look at your cumulative GPA, which means that they look at your GPA from ninth grade year all the way to your 11th grade year. So making sure that you keep that in mind when you are in those classes and working for those grades. It's something that you want to do well from beginning, until you cross the stage. Also, making sure that you earn every credit, like I said before, is very important so that you move on to the next grade. And you can only do that by attending and being here. So make sure that you understand that attendance is very important in you earning those credits and doing well in those classes.
Here's the grading scale that Calvert County Public Schools uses to calculate your GPA. For each marking period percent grade, it corresponds to a number on a 4.0 scale. The middle column is for non-AP courses, and the right column is for all AP courses. So a 93 to 100% for a non-AP course receives a 4.0. On an AP course, it's a 5.0. And then it continues so on and so forth. Here are some tips for success you can apply in marking period 2 and for the rest of the school year if you are not already using them. Make sure to use cap time for tutoring or to make up assignments. Each of your teachers has a set day for tutoring where you can receive help on certain concepts. They also have days where they are open, where you can go to them, get some extra help on concepts, but also make up assignments, quizzes, anything that you may be missing. We also have working lunch. This takes place Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in room 222 during all lunch shifts. You can go there and get some assistance from teachers on assignments that you might be missing, or just have a quiet space to work and catch up on anything that you need to catch up on. We also have Saturday school. There you will have the opportunity to make up missing assignments, and there are teachers there who can provide you with assistance. One of the most important things is your attendance. It's important to be in school so that you can keep up with your work. When you're absent, you fall even more behind because you have things that you need to make up, concepts that you may have missed, and any kind of assignments that were important to instruction. The last thing is to monitor your hack in Schoology regularly. You want to keep up with your current grades, take a look at something that you might be missing, and just set goals for yourself. In Schoology, there are many functions to tell you when you have assignments that are due, so make sure that you keep track of those as well. Now that you've taken a look at your report card and been given all of this information, we want to know what you've learned, what you know, so that we can help provide you with any support moving forward as a guidance department. So if you would, please take out your computer, open a web browser, and go to this link to complete the survey. Thank you so much for listening, and we really appreciate you. We look forward to getting your feedback. As always, come see us if you need any kind of support, have any questions. We're here to answer whatever you need.